Welcome to Because We Love You, a podcast dedicated to helping you live a life of wellness. My name is Stacy, and I'm here with my co-host, Jade.
Hello. This week we are talking about how to make friends and then keep them. So check out our show notes for more information about what we've been talking about today. And as always, listen on Apple Music or Spotify.
And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or watch our beautiful faces on YouTube.
Okay, so last week, Stacey, great session, and we just really, I think that people were inspired. I'm inspired even more about how essential friendship is.
I know, we really worked some things out on air.
Yeah, I know, it was beautiful, and I just feel even more confident in the story that we have and the story that we can give others, that this is not optional, it is essential, okay?
Absolutely.
So now that we know it's essential, we've got to figure out, how do we do it? If you're lost and you're like, I don't have my village. I definitely don't have 15 people that I can depend on. And I don't really have 2 to 5 people that are my people. But maybe you have one, but you're just lost. And I think today is about, like, what are some things that we can inspire and give people to help them on this journey?
Yeah. And I would just encourage you too to know that you are not alone. Like, I feel like that's one of the questions we hear more than anything is like, how do you even make friends as an adult? Or why is it so hard to make friends as an adult? It's not easy. It's not natural. You know, when we're kids, we have school and the playground and sports. And it's like, as adults, we don't really have that. Maybe at work, but work can be kind of weird because there's like a professional relationship going on. So a lot of people ask this question. And even when you just Google it, right, all these articles and podcasts and things come up about making friends. Why do we suck at it as adults?
Well, I think one way that I think there's a host of reasons why we suck at it. And we've talked about those, even last week. There's a lot of barriers to sucking. But I think some practical things, if you're just trying to look into taking that next step, is just look around.
Yeah.
Look around, because proximity is huge, right?
And they say, that proximity is the greatest predictor of relationships, whether that's romantic or platonic, if it's a friend. Look who's around. Who's around you? Whose face you're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, are you going to Starbucks every morning and getting a caramel frappuccino and there's a person getting a caramel frappuccino beside you?
New BFF.
Hello. You like caramel frappuccinos. I mean, are you working out and you're walking into the gym and you see the same face multiple times a week and you're like, she's a female, 40. Yeah, I'm going to latch on to her. Yeah. Like, who is she? I want to know more about. I just think, just opening your eyes at work. Hey, that was interesting. She said that really weird joke. I like weird jokes. I think I might like her.
Yeah, your neighborhood. Who do you see walking around?
They have a kid my age. That would be cool. Let's do a play date.
Let's see it out. Check it out.
I think this was relationship advice given a long time ago, even in my youth group. And they were like, do your life. Always be running your race, but then look up and see who's running right beside you.
Love that.
And that was always something I took to this romantic. It's like, I don't want a guy that's, 10 steps back. Yep. And I think even with a friend, you don't want a friend that you're dragging and pulling along. Like if you're in this adventurous and healthy and working out and all these things, then look around and they're right there. So once you open your eyes and look around. How did you find me, Stacy?
Well, I know you need a reminding because this is kind of a funny story that we can tell right now. It was at church. I think sometimes those one issue why it's hard for adults to find friends is because we don't have those spaces, right? We're at home with our families and then we're at work and pretty much that's it. For us, church provides that third space, but I think, culturally we don't have a lot of other spaces that
and so
allow
many
for
people
that,
don't
right?
do that. So then they don't have that third space and they really have to struggle to look for another third space.
Yeah, that's right. So my husband and I want to get involved in a small group. We came to yours, which you did not recall. Jade was telling, just for all our listeners out there, was telling the story of how we met one day, and it was a full 6 months after we actually met and had been going to our house for church.
It's embarrassing. So I wasn't looking. I wasn't.
Look at us now.
I'm so glad there was persistent
the
there.
story.
Yeah, you did. You looked around and you're like, this is a small group that I would want to be involved in. But I will say that the thing that I did that started to connect us was being pregnant at the same time. And so, proximity, going through the same things in life. And then, that like led us to start talking. And then when I started talking and I was like, oh, I love her brain and I love what she has to say. And, then
we're having babies together and doing all the things.
Yeah. So that's how, but look around. So, and even whenever I'm trying to give people, it's like sometimes advice, I'm like, well, you're not going to find it sitting in your house. Okay. So it's not going to be there. So whether do you like sewing, go to a sewing class, sit at the park. I mean, I remember in college, like when you're getting to, because that's like an interesting place. Like you're trying to find, sometimes you just have to like sit on the quad, the middle space and just be like, oh, and, run into people or like run and jump a ultimate frisbee in front of them and say, oh, I don't know, like touch somebody, but just look around, open your eyes. Or inappropriate.
Oh boy. Proximity who's around. But I think the other thing, and that's often hard for people in that we're going to put on you and ourselves, is you need to be an initiator. You have to initiate those interactions. It requires you asking. Sometimes it requires an awkward conversation of, hey, I had fun with you. Like, can I get your contact info? Can we hang out again? I would love to see you. Takes that.
And that's just like, I mean, it takes the initial ask. And once you start doing it, I think it just gets so much easier. And even as our kids are, I say this a lot, but the things we're learning, I want them to learn earlier. And the other week, Bella had to go into this environment where she didn't know anyone and whatnot. And I was like, just remember that there's other people that feels just like you right now. I was like, just open your mouth and speak, say, hey, how are you? Ask a question, say something, start that dialogue. I was like, you be the first. And it's hard to be it's so hard so many times to be the first. But then positive reinforcement kicks in. And once you're the first one time and you're like, oh my goodness, people enjoy that. This person just talked to me. Like all this stuff. I think it just like that positive reinforcement that this is cool and this is easy and everybody is looking for it.
It reminds me of something we talked about in an earlier episode on community called the liking gap. And we talked about this in reference to like chatting with strangers, but the idea that people enjoy interactions with you and like you more than you think they do. And so, that insecurity gets in the way that, oh, I don't want to bother them. Oh, they probably already have friends. Like, you got to just get over that. It's a bias and just be brave enough to ask.
Isn't it so empowering? That's what I love research. Like, this is why I'm doing this is because how freaking empowering is it to know that there have been studies that have been done. So when I walk into a room now, when I walk into spaces where I do not feel confident or I do not know anyone, I have this research to back me. I'm like, they really do like me. Whatever they put off, they're liking me. They like me. And I can go in and confidently counter that because I know, and by confident, I mean, I can do it knowing that there is likely they are going to like aspects of me. I'm not asking them to be a surrogate. I'm just asking them to talk to me. These aren't like intimate things. But I think that like, that's why we want everyone out there to know that people really do like you and they like aspects of you, even if they don't want you in their, 2 to 5. Maybe they just want you in your 50, get the Christmas card and be happy with it. But this reminds me of a story because part of asking too, I think just getting to know people is saying, hey, you want to read that book? Hey, you want to go for that walk? Hey, you want to come over to my house for this? But then there's that next step. And we didn't really even know this was a thing, but we were like talking, and there was this particular girl in our group. Yeah. We're like, we really like a lot of aspects about her. Yeah. Like, she's pretty cool. She like, you know, this, circle, like this is, I'm seeing a lot of qualities. I'm seeing loyal, committed, intelligent, mother, wife. Like, I like what I'm working with, but we're just like, can she be in our people? Can she be our people? And so we had this conversation. I was like, I think we just need to ask her, Stacy. Yeah. I think we just need to say, can you be? Yeah. Can you meet the expectations of like real life, real friend? And so we were sitting in a car one day. I said, I think it's time. Yeah. And I put it on Stacy because I like to do that a lot because I think she communicates very effectively. I was like, I'll just come in for the effect at the end. Yeah. Yeah. And so we're sitting in the car and I'm going to let Stacy take it away. Yeah. So, you know, we looked at it and we're like, okay, like we're having a lot of fun. This is cool. This has been fun. But like, do you want to be our real friend? Like, and we're, you know, obviously, as you all know now, we're a lot. So we're like, it's a big commitment. You need to spend time with us. You have to say yes.
You need to say yes to things that may make you feel uncomfortable. We just
prioritize us.
Yeah, like we need to be together and do things.
We need to learn. You need to take are you going to take vacations with us? Is that a thing? Is that going to be like a no? Because I need to know. So it was a lot.
It was a lot. So we're like, I mean, are we going to do this or what? It's kind of like a romantic relationship. Like,
and after the deer in a headlights for just a minute. Because I don't know that that's a thing. We didn't know it was a thing until we now we have research that says it's actually a thing. You should be doing this. But we didn't know it was a thing. And then she looked at us and she looked around. She's like, I'm in. Yeah. And we're like, whoa, you're in. You're in. This is amazing. And it was a great moment.
It was.
And it reminds
me. Fun to look back on that.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Jenny Allen Find Your People book where she's like, you've got to find people who are willing to say yes. Yeah. Wanting it more, knowing the sensuality. I don't think that's a word, but the sensuality of this and saying, you know what, Stacy, you know what, Jade, I am all in. I'm ready to do this thing. I'm ready to say yes. I'm ready to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And it was a beautiful moment.
It was. And now BFFs. She's in our 2 to 5 and we're together all the time and
love it. It also reminds me, just really briefly, like you remember that one night that I felt like a few other people could be in our like kind of tighter group. And I said, if you'll do this, like you can be in our group. And we all licked each other's eyeballs. It was a really good moment. That was a belch. I just like,
and that's where everyone left and is never coming back to hear anything we have to say.
No, it's not. But I agree. You do not have to do that. So like, if you're like, I can't do that. I can't lick an eyeball. But what it does present, this is the principle of this, is sometimes you have to get people to do these things to show like, I'm not leaving when the time gets weird. I'm not leaving when times get tough. Yeah. I'm in this. Yeah. I am in. I'm in it if it takes licking a salty eyeball. I'm in it if it takes doing some uncomfortable things. Yeah. I want to be your friend. I want to do life with you. I want to experience new things with you.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to draw on any new friends after today, but
yes, we are.
That was great. That was good.
It's going to trend. Lick the eyeball to show friendship.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's say proximity, look up, see who's around, keeping up with you. Number 2, you've tried to initiate a relationship. Okay, but let's say they say yes, they're all in, you're all in. What happens next? And I think that this, honestly, even though initiation can be weird and hard, this is the hardest part, or one of the hardest parts. We have kind of 2 points left, but one of them is time. Yes. Like, it just takes time. And people will say they are busy and they don't have time, and we have families and kids and jobs, and this was a struggle for me. But you know what? How you build friendships is just putting in the minutes. Research says it's about 200 minutes to form, for someone to become a close friend. Right?
Which is, and that the caveat is within 6 weeks.
Yes.
So like, you can't say, well, we've known each other for 10 years and we've spent 200 hours together.
Close friend.
What? No, it's not the hours. Yeah. It's the hours consecutively and consistently
in a fairly short period of time. It just takes time, and you have to be willing.
And we make time for what's really important. And I think and everybody is not worth your time. Okay. Yeah. So like your 50 people is not worth your time. Your village is worth some time. Your 2 to 5 people are worth your time. They are worth being made a priority and a responsible. And it's just, and it's a beautiful thing. 'Cause I mean, like, honestly, this is the most valuable thing you can give me, really. Yeah. Like, it's just say, you know what? I could be preparing a message right now. I could be preparing a talk. I could be with my husband. I could be with my kids, which are all important things to be with, mind you. But I want to be with you. Yeah. I want to be with you. And to have that sacrifice mutually. Because it's not just one. Not just like when your husband's out of town, you know? Yeah. But when my husband's out of town, like, you know, flipping those and saying, nope, they're a priority. You're a priority. So you can ask all you want, but if you don't make a friend a priority, you know, it's not gonna work well for you. I liked something that we read this week when it talked about, so time is showing up. So showing up consistently. Yep. Time is showing up when things are bad, which we talked about last week. You know, and that's good. You have to have friends that show up. But also, this was what was so cool, is showing up in good times. Yeah. Like celebrating.
For sure. And I was listening to this podcast that APA does called Speaking of Psychology, and the speaker was Dr. Maris Franco, and she's out of the University of Maryland, and she was talking about how that showing up during the good times, celebrating successes, is actually even more important when rating kind of the closeness of a friendship than showing up in the bad times. Because I do think that's a lot easier, right? When someone is sad, for most of us, we're, you know, empathetic or show compassion. Like, we want to do something, we want to help. That's easy. You know, it can be hard, but it's not that hard. But to truly celebrate a success with someone and to be happy for them without feeling insecure or jealous or, you know, envious of what's going on. I mean, there's only a few people who really do a good job of celebrating your wins with you, or that you even feel comfortable.
I know. That's like,
wins with.
That's the big thing, is like, you know, when something really, really good happens to you and you want to tell people, you know, you don't want to feel like you're boasting in yourself. Like, I am this, I am that. And honestly, like, when people share something that's really good, I'm like, oh man, they really want me to know that, because I know, like, you know, I got this bonus, or, you know, have this speaking engagement or whatnot. It's a really beautiful thing. And it's sad that, like, we don't celebrate more, or that people don't feel comfortable saying, like, this is something to celebrate. I love one thing that you have always brought to the relationship and brought to a friendship is the idea of celebrating more, you know, celebrating the little things. And something that comes to mind is when we celebrated Jace's vasectomy. That was not planned, but like, you guys knew that he was having a vasectomy, and we were having small group around that same time. And you're like, we're going to celebrate this. Like, this is something, and we're going to make this a party. And it's like, there's always an excuse for a party. Like, we can always celebrate something, and to find joy in that. And, you know, it's just been, that always made a mark. It was like, we still have pictures of all the guys, like, eating the cake and celebrating this moment. And I can't wait. I'm really, I want to throw a party for Matt someday. And I'm just,
here we go.
I'm ready to celebrate. But that's just such a cool thing. Like, not just the speaking thing or the whatnot, but, you know, the little wins along the way. So thank you for showing me the art of celebration.
Oh, I love that. I do love to celebrate. I love a good celebration. But the last one, this one's also hard. Vulnerability. Oh my gosh, you cannot have a relationship if you're not willing to share your stuff, if you're not willing to open up and to be vulnerable and to be honest. Can't just do the, hey, how are you, fine type stuff if you really want to strengthen your relationships.
Yeah. We've said it over and over. It's a theme, but in our life, not with everybody, but in our life, you have to share your story.
Yeah.
You have to share your story. And, you know, sometimes that means sharing your story with more people or less people, or when, but when you do that, I mean, they can use it to hurt you. They could use it to hurt you. That's why you want to create safe spaces, and you want to be a safe space, to share these things. But it's so worth it. And, you know, you mentioned earlier, like, not just vulnerable in our, in like our heart and what our deepest desires are, but vulnerable in not everything not being perfect in our messy life. You know, the food, the marshmallow being matted to the back seat of my car, and I will get to that, and I promise, you know, but like, I'm not going to not hang out because there's marshmallows in the back seat. You know, I'm going to say, hey, put a towel down. I mean, they're dry. They won't stick to your pants. Don't you want to come with me to the thing? You know, I'll drive. You know, and those are hard moments because they, you know, you could look at me like, I thought you were like a professional and you know, I thought you had it all together. No, I don't have it all together. I have marshmallows matted in the back seat.
Because the truth is, none of us have it all together. And you may be hiding your mess somewhere, but your mess is somewhere. So just might as well let it out. And I think, you know, when thinking about vulnerability, I think I see it in my husband, but with other men as well, this seems to be especially difficult for men to be vulnerable with other men, or even with women. But, you know, in that podcast I was listening to with Dr. Franco, she was talking about how in men's interactions, it often involves a third object. So sure, we'll get together to watch a football game, or we'll get together to play basketball, or we'll get together to go for a bike ride, or, you know, to do something, go to a concert. But when things always involve what she called a third object, it takes away the need to be vulnerable, because we don't have to talk about our feelings. We can talk about that, you know, sick dunk, whatever it may be. People probably don't say that, but
they do. I think good. I've heard it. Pastor Jason said that.
Okay, that is good.
Sick dunk. Isn't that so interesting too? And something else that we've kind of found with our men, or the men in our life, and something we have to be cognitive of, is doing things even if they may not be top on our priority, you know, list. Like connecting with others on things that they like versus things that we like. So it might not be top number one thing to do. I remember there was a time when you didn't love pool volleyball, you know, like it was like, oh, this is not like the top thing on my list, but then you did it to connect. You did it for me, and just to be with everyone. And I mean, like, you've made big strides. I mean, you even created a small group around volleyball.
I know.
So like, you never know when that opportunity is going to find something that you also, you know, love.
And that really reminds me of the principle of reciprocity, that we can't always be the one giving or taking. Try some things you may not like. If they share, you need to share. You know, if they give, you need to give. So just that back and forth of a relationship also makes it And that is better.
A quality that has to happen in your 2 to 5. Those people, if you're not getting that in your 2 to 5 people, they need to be demoted to the village, and then maybe an acquaintance. I'm sorry, but you've got to have both people on board saying, I'm all in. No, not one person cannot be all in. I mean, it reminds me of stories I hear all the time of people who are broken up and they felt like they were the only one giving. Like maybe it was emotionally, you know, but if you're the only one giving emotionally and that person's there, maybe they have great things to say, but it feels like a mentorship or a counseling session. Right?
Oh, that's good, right? That's not a friend. No. That's a mentor.
And you need a mentor, and ask them if they, you know, if you want to buy their dinner, because you are paying for a service, a mentorship. You know, this is the service. This is not friendship. Friendship you're not paid for. You give out of the abundance of your heart, and it is both people working it out together, sharpening each other, and that's the difference between mentorship and counseling. So I mean, this is a hard one, but it is it. I mean, I think vulnerability, going deeper too. I think that's the big thing with like people and like trips and stuff. Because I mean, I definitely feel like when you go on a trip with somebody, you get to know them. Like you smell their stanky breath. And
you see them when they first wake up.
Right.
You see them frustrated. You see,
you hear an argument. I think one of the surefire ways too is like when you see people and they're mad at the other person. Like people try to hide that at all costs. Like, I'm not mad at my husband. Things are going good. When you see that, you're like, oh, we're getting in. We're finally there at the true Stacy, where nothing's hidden.
That's right. And this reminds me of the whole let them see your mess thing. And in this podcast, Dr. Franco talked about what she called the beautiful mess effect. And it's the idea that when we are vulnerable, when we do this, we think people are judging more than they are. So this is another important bias to keep in mind, that you think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm letting them see this, or I can't believe I just told you that. People enjoy that and appreciate that a lot more than you think.
I'm loving it, because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not the only one who gets that angry. I mean, not that I enjoy seeing you hurt or whatnot, but like there have been moments where I think, and you probably can agree, like that we have to discipline our kids, or like our kid does something wrong, or your kid does something wrong. And it's just comforting to know. It's like, it's a crossbow both ways. Like this is not just a me problem. Like it's frustrating, and we're in this together. But the song that I just thought of when you said beautiful mess, what a mess, what a beautiful mess I'm in. Have you never spending all my time with you? There's nothing else I'd rather do. Oh my gosh, this country. What a sweet addiction that I'm caught up in. Oh my goodness. I can't believe you didn't start singing with me.
But I mean, it came to my mind. I'm just not a singer.
I'm not either, but I do love it.
You're much better than I am.
But that reminds, like, that's the, like, let's get messy together.
Let's do it.
There's Spartan races. There's mud runs. Why not do this in life, right?
Get morning breath.
Yes.
Get messy. So embrace the beautiful mess.
Embrace the beautiful mess. And there's one more thing. What we have. I just feel like if you're going to, so proximity, look around, ask, spend time, lots of time, do all the time. Say yes, yes, yes. Be there just for 2 to 5, not for everybody. Then get messy, get dirty, and then realize this is a commitment. And we've alluded to that so much. But when you're asked the question, our friend, when we were sitting there in the car, she looked at us and she said, I'm all in. Are you all in with this? Do you have people? Do you have 2 to 5 people that you say, I'm all in? 2 are better than 1. I need you. You need me. We need each other.
Absolutely.
Let's do this thing. Let's be happier. Let's be better. Let's drop our resource wall. Let's share our resources. There's so many good things. Read these books that we read. They're awesome. The Jenny Allen, Find Your People. Go to the show notes. Check it out. If you want to find some people, come reach out to us this week. If you listen to this and you're just like, I want a little bit more clarification. This is something we're passionate about.
For sure.
Research supports it. We live it. Why do we do this? Because we love you.